This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now, from the Sunbury Motors studio, here's Steve Jones.
And the opening half hour brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, the best in new inventory, great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee and a terrific service department that backs you up every step of the way. Whether it happens to be inspections, routine, difficult, or quick lane. They handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Look, I know we'll have to get to, at some point, the House settlement, which we will do. We will do that.
I did kind of find it amusing that both Aaron Rodgers signed and the House settlement came within 24 hours.
Right, yeah. Let's face it, the House settlement was released on a Friday, at night no less. Other than that, I am not suspicious of anything.
Nope.
Unbelievable. Okay, well, that's the way it is. But it was expected, and it's done. Okay, it's here. We got it. Okay. And that's the way it's going to be. But we'll get to that in 1 second, okay? 1 second. I'll start with the finals first. Game 1 was really good. It was scintillating. It was great theater, but it was well played. Last night's game was not well played. When I'm looking at the halftime stats and the two teams were combined 14 of 41 in threes, I'm like, hey, guys, does every shot have to be a three? Please. Okay? And that's where you start looking at, come on. That's not what you're looking for. And there was the one stretch where there was the one stretch where they took off and they were in great shape. And that's Oklahoma City. That was really the only stretch where that happened. And Halliburton wasn't good last night, so that was another issue. He just wasn't good. Didn't help.
Talented team.
It's just Oklahoma City is just so long everywhere. That's what I took away from it last night. It's so hard to get inside against them.
Yeah, it is. No, it really is. And that's to their credit. They're a good defensive team. They're no Waldos. You don't sit there and say, okay, like when the Knicks series, Indiana could look at Karl Anthony Towns and they could look at Jalen Brunson. And yes, they may be big names, but they're not good defensive players. So you can come down the floor and you can exploit a matchup against them. Okay. And that's what you can do. You can exploit a matchup against them. And so because of that, now you go to this series, there's nobody there you can do that with. There's nobody. Can't do anything with that when it comes to Oklahoma City. That's the problem. Hey, there's no Waldo there.
I mean, they're switching Holmgren on screens up top and letting him, he's not. It takes a little bit for guards to get past him enough that there's always help there for him, and it's. Right. I'm at the age where I'm not used to the 7'2" guy being able to get down in his stance and slide his feet.
He's long. He's just long. I mean, that's the difference. He's long, and because he's long, it's a problem. So, yeah, that's the big issue. That's the big issue that you have with him. So, yeah. So they go to Indianapolis now, tied at a game apiece. And that's the bottom line. It was not, I watched it last night. It was not an aesthetically pleasing game. Then I flipped it over to ESPN, and Aaron Judge hit 2 home runs. And they spent like 3 innings talking about Aaron Judge. And then you kept looking at the corner of the scoreboard and realized that the Yankees were getting blown out. Okay, why are we spending so much time on Aaron Judge? I mean, okay, I got to hit 2 home runs. It's like it was the equivalent of Bob Uecker saying I hit a grand slam once. It was a big hit. It made the final 13-2. Like, what are we doing? I mean, we got it all wrong as to how we do sports all the time. Good for him. He hit 2 home runs and whatever. He also hit it off 2 rookies. If you notice, that's become a pattern. The younger the pitcher, the more vulnerable they are. When he gets to face experience pitching postseason, he struggles.
Well, yes, he does, but you also shorten your bullpen at that point, and you're only getting the guys that throw 100 miles an hour most of the time. You're not getting the starter the 4th time through the lineup.
Right, I know. Oh, no, you're not. I'm just saying, like these are the first 2 home runs he's hit this month. They're off. I mean, the guy hit the home run off in the 9th inning was in Worcester on Thursday. Really? It was not like they brought in Chapman. It wasn't a save situation. Yeah. I'm not talking about Judge. I'm talking about the coverage of it. I was like, I'm sitting there like going, you're not winning. You're getting blown out. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? Right? Like, what the heck? After a while, it gets to be a little bit much as to how they do things. That's me. I just don't find it to be. It's not good TV. Simple as that. It's just not. That's me. And I may, and you and I may be on different paths. I just look at it and go, you got to be kidding me. Really?
Well, I'm not a fan of either team, so it's a little too early in the season for me to flip up to Yankees. Oh, no, Yankees Red Sox on Sunday night. Yeah, but I didn't care if the Red Sox were playing them. That meant I didn't care. I mean, the Red Sox aren't playing well. I mean, what the heck? I mean, Bregman's out, Casas is out for the year. They got issues. Okay. I mean, maybe the best hitter they have isn't even playing for them. So I mean, that doesn't matter. It's just like you sit there and say, it just is so. It gets to be obnoxious after a while because
he's a great player. There's no getting around it. And he's a historically great player. But not once in the conversation they bring up in the postseason where you got to have it, he doesn't. He's going to have to somehow change the postseason narrative for me to change my opinion about him as a player. I don't even know the name of the guy he hit the first home run off of, and I think he's been with them most of the season. The second guy, I don't know at all. Right? I mean, I want to see what he does when he goes out there in a postseason game against the Cy Young winner from Detroit, and let's see how he does. Come on. What do you got? Everything's on the table here. Let's go. I mean, Hank Aaron didn't have a lot of postseason experience, but he sure was good in the 3 postseasons he was in. All 3 of them. Even in a losing cause, he had a home run in every game in the National League Championship Series in '69. People don't know that. The story was the Mets. But Aaron wasn't the problem. He had a home run in all 3 games. Okay, after being great in the World Series in 57 and 58. Babe Ruth hit 15 World Series home runs. Mickey Mantle hit 18 World Series home runs. Reggie Jackson wasn't called Mr. October because he did it a couple times. He was consistent with it. Right? But is that brought up in the conversation? You got to bring it up. Look, he's done this in the regular season, some of the greatest regular seasons we've seen, X, Y, Z. Got it. You've got to then bring in, he's got to do it in the postseason in order to elevate who he actually is in the stature of the game. Because the postseasons are longer now. You can rack up all sorts of stats in the postseason. And despite having longer postseasons, he doesn't. And then, of course, he even dropped the ball in the World Series in the deciding game on a routine fly ball. Like, okay, that wasn't good. But I got 2 innings last night of da-da-da-da. I'm going, oh, mother, what are we doing here? I mean, you're going to have a conversation about the guy. Have an honest conversation about him. Sure, last year of the contract anyway. What do you care? Right? I mean, okay? So I go to ESPN.com, the highlight package. What's the very first highlight that's up there? Aaron Judge goes yard for his second homer of the night off some guy named Stock. Right? And they're showing all the people cheering in the whole thing. It was 11-5 when he hit it. It's like, hey, to be honest with you, it was an irrelevant hit. Irrelevant. See, my problem is not him, it's the coverage of him. Okay? When I talk about this, I'm not ripping him. I'm talking about the coverage of him. All right, so that's another topic. We'll get we'll get his caddy on tomorrow. Don't laugh.
If it was real, that'd be a pretty good gig.
I know. Let's see. Heather Dinich wrote an article about the House settlement. Everybody's been writing one. The most powerful conference commissioners are bullish on their ability to enforce NIL rules in a new system, even though specific punishments remain unclear. Jim Phillips, Zoom call today, along with Greg Sankey, Tony Petitti, Brett Yormark, and Teresa Gold. She's the commissioner of the Pac-12. Said they've all had ideas, but nothing that they're going to really come forward with. Ultimately, Phillips said the rules and boundaries will be under Brian Seeley's rules, who's the new CEO of the new enforcement organization called College Sports Commission. Yormark called it progress over perfection. Our schools want rules, and we're providing rules. and we will be governed by those rules, and if you break those rules, the ramifications will be punitive, Yormark said. Yeah, but the problem is, who's not included in the rules? Representation of the players. Right? So, here are the issues. All right? Number one, essentially what they have done is, for the most part, this is their way of purchasing the NIL portion that would be laid out as individual payments. That's essentially what the athletic departments are doing here. It does not mean you still cannot go out and say, hey, I'm Todd Hummel, star quarterback for Penn State for Sunbury Motors. Okay, that would go to the athlete. The annual cap is expected to start at $20.5 million. It's going to increase by 4%. Those payments will be in addition to scholarships and other benefits that the athletes are already going to get. So starting Saturday, players have to report their NIL deals of $600 or more to the College Sports Commission. At that point, Deloitte gets involved. They will monitor salary cap management and the clearinghouse. The platform is going to be called NIL Go. The deals outside of the revenue directed by the schools will have to be vetted to determine if they're valid and are not recruiting numbers. Okay? So when Deloitte met with the ACC coaches and athletic directors at Amelia Island a couple of weeks ago, they said, we're not going to get into specifics, which is the right way to go about it, but said we've reviewed a lot of material. And without giving you specifics, they say 90% of the deals that are actual, hi, I'm X for Y, would be approved. 90% of them. They said 70% of the deals that you've been seeing left and right that they've been trying to get in before June 7th, 70% of those would be rejected. So, but there are problems here. There are problems.
I was going to say the first one that popped into my head is the one that says it all the time. What gives Deloitte the right to say that what you are worth?
Past deals.
I just, again, I say this when we talk about this all the time. I don't see how that Deloitte lasts 2 weeks.
I don't know about that. There'll be a suit around it, but you asked why. What? Because I gave you the answer.
It's a restraint. It's a restraint of trade.
Right. Not necessarily.
Steve, if I'm willing to give you $10 million to do this show and you have to take it to somebody and say, is this fair? And they say no.
Well, I think Roger wouldn't think it's fair.
Well, no, I know, but
he'd be like, $10 million for that guy? What, are you kidding me?
I just don't see. I just don't see how it. I don't see how it's how that part of it is negotiated without the players, and is going to be like a court is going to be able to allow them to do that.
Well, I agree with all of that, because how often have you heard me say you need collective bargaining?
Yeah.
Okay, I've said that over and over again, right? Because we're going to discuss here all the problems. Okay? Now, until all the problems are solved, you'll have a system in place July 1. There's not going to be anybody that's going to deviate from the process until they're told to, right?
Oh. I mean, the schools would be crazy not to follow it, just so that there is rules, and now that in theory that there is an enforcement arm, that maybe there will be some punishments, but somebody's going to break a rule by July 1st, okay. 12:30.
All right. Well, let's start with this. Okay? And that is as follows. Does this then open the door to the old way of doing things where suddenly the brown envelope shows up in the locker? Well, we think it would have been rejected, but no problem. The money's in an envelope in your locker right now.
Well, who enforces those rules?
This College Sports Commission would.
Okay.
The College Sports Commission would be the one that, if you're caught doing it, okay, that's where they'll attempt to put the hammer down.
I mean, it's 2025. They'll just throw it into some crypto and you'll never find it.
Could be. Could very well be. But it's going to be up to them. It's a new enforcement organization. We'll see how they handle things. I'm bringing up, I'm spitballing ramifications here. And I'll do more spitballing of ramifications in a moment. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about stuff that a lot of people haven't brought up. That's why. Have you heard anybody talk about that?
No.
Yeah, that's why we brought it up. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
I was trying to find it while you were talking. I read something on Friday that just means that they're going to figure out a way to get it to $50 million, and you're not going to know about it. But I don't know how that is.
It could. I mean, it could be. But I mean, if you thought that, why would you care about making a deal before June 7th?
All right.
Because even the Texas Tech pitcher got her 7-year deal 18 hours before the deadline.
Yeah.
School's out, the grill is fired up, and your summer adventures are just getting started. Whether it's a beach trip, a ball game, or just running the kids to practice, Sunbury Motors Ford has the vehicle to get you there. Choose from over 20 Bronco Sports, roomy, rugged, and ready, with savings up to $8,278 and prices starting at just $29,483. Want efficiency and space? Grab one of 24 fuel-sipping 2025 Ford Escapes. Discounted up to $5,769 and starting at only $28,352. Need a muscle for the boat or camper? Check out 35 Ford F-150s, America's bestseller, with savings just under $11,000, starting at $46,579. No pressure, no gimmicks, just real deals for real families in Central PA. Sunbury Motors Ford, coming alive in 2025. In the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury.
Hi, it's Steve Jones reminding you about the 34th Annual Truman H. Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament to benefit the Greater Susquehanna Valley YMCA. Join me Wednesday, August 6th for a great day of golf at the Susquehanna Valley Country Club. There are tons of prizes on the course, as well as team prizes for the 4-person scramble. Call 570-286-5636 to register your team, and I'll see you on the course August 6th for the 34th Annual Truman H. Purdy Memorial Golf Tournament.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, people ask us how we get through the day with the suit in the building, and that's called Purdy Insurance. No, not the right transition. Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, light business, boat, motorcycle, RV. I know I've gone to Purdy and my good friend Steve Engel about insurance needs. They're the best. Make sure you're fully insured, and they do a great job of saving you money wherever they can. It is all at Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Doug in Wellsboro. shockingly has questions about NIL, and so do we.
I need a lot of help with this, Steve. I don't understand some stuff, and I need your expertise.
Well, I'll give you answers. We can debate expertise.
Okay. First question. The 85 scholarships, is that still in place?
The roster, it'll change to a roster limit of 105. It is up to every school as to how they want to treat it. So if you want to treat it as 105 full scholarship players, you can. If you want to treat it as 85 scholarship players, but then want to do partial scholarships for the other 20 or make the other 20 all walk-ons, that is your choice. The SEC, for example, will have 85 scholarship players and 20 walk-ons. The reason they are doing that is that you can give 85 scholarship players more money per player as opposed to splitting it up 105 ways. So it's going to be up to the school, but there's no more scholarship limit. There's a roster limit of 105, and how you wish to go about taking care of scholarship versus non-scholarship is your choice.
Is the 105 limit year-round? Is there a certain date they have to be under 105?
They have to be at 105 by the opening game of this upcoming season. But you're not going to see teams at 105 this year. The agreement has in it grandfathered walk-ons. So you may have 120, and then say you have 8 seniors. Well, they graduate. Now suddenly you're going to be down to 112. See what I mean? And then it'll eventually get to 105. Once it gets to 105, then that will be the hard and fast limit.
Okay. Second question. I understand about the revenue sharing part of it. Above $600 goes through the review or whatever. Mm-hmm. Is it going to revert back to, like you said, like a brown envelope? If these big boosters want to give money to players, are the NIL collectives totally out of it now because there's a revenue sharing model in place? I mean, can they give over $600 as long as it gets reviewed and gets approved?
Well, that's going to be an interesting question because I pointed out the potential ramifications of the old brown envelope days. Now, if that were to happen and you do get caught, it sounds to me like they're going to hit you pretty hard with it. But collectives are still in play in such a way where you'll be able to raise money toward the $20.5 million. And it goes, and athletics can then, they're the ones in charge of putting it together in that particular way. See what I mean? Other things such as, hi, I'm Doug from Wellsboro for Wellsboro Chevrolet, right? That would have to go through the clearinghouse. But 90% of those, based on past statistics, according to Deloitte, would be approved. Outside income of just like, here's some cash, 70% of that would probably be X'd out. But again, this is them essentially reassigning the NIL rights to the athletic departments themselves, but these collectives would still help them raise money toward it so they can help pay for it. That's the way I interpret it.
So they don't get the $20 million, like Penn State doesn't get an annual $20 million from TV contracts, anything like that.
They do. They do.
Does that count towards it?
Oh, it's however you get the money. In other words, Penn State's fine in that they can do this because they're in the Big Ten. The Big Ten deal, which is an escalator, is just going to go up every year between now and 2030. So they'll have the money to do it. The new contract with Playfly for the radio rights is doubled, if not slightly more than double the old Learfield contract, so that's now in place. Plus, you're going to have to find ways to save money. Indiana, for example, has already dropped 25 employees. Ohio State has already taken men's gymnastics and converted that to a club sport. So you're going to have to work around it, but the money's in place. You still have to do fundraising all the time. I mean, that's a standard anyway. So, over the years, Penn State's been one of the best at endowed scholarships. Like, I think it's number 3 in endowed scholarships. You may now want to take that and convert that into payment structure.
Okay.
I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it does. They carefully stayed away from the employees. They used revenue sharing instead of employees.
Yes,
I guess
right.
To prevent unionization. It was the purpose of that.
At least initially, yes. Because remember, what does the term student athlete mean? The term student athlete was put out by the NCAA as a way to not pay players. Oh, there's students who also happen to be athletes. That's why the term student athlete was put out there by the NCAA over and over and over again, because that was the legalese of not having to pay them. All right, so now this is going to change. And this is why I'm a strong believer, Doug, in collective bargaining. You've got to be able, and it's exponentially more difficult to collectively bargain with universities or colleges and universities and athletic departments, because when I'm negotiating for the NBA Players Association, I'm talking to the NBA about basketball players. When I'm looking at Penn State, they have 833 athletes playing 31 sports. I can't negotiate for all those athletes. You should probably only negotiate for your specific sport. And so that's what it comes down to. What the NCAA needs is some form of antitrust exemption to then allow them to open the door to talk to athletes about getting a structured settlement with them about a monetary limit, about a roster limit, about medical care, about whether or not they happen to be employees of the university or not, which then, of course, not only is the medical care, but also puts them on the pension plan. There's a lot of elements that would have to be negotiated between the two sides to move forward, because right now, in the settlement, even though it's House and an Arizona State swimmer, essentially the athletes have been left out of this and have accepted whatever has happened, including the back pay. And you're going to have athletes you're going to be watching on TV left and right this season that all got back pay, because the back pay goes from 2016 all the way up to September 17th of this year.
That was my next question. I know there's former athletes that are involved in this. How far back does that go? And who did they have to join anything like the settlement, or join like a filing to be part of this settlement?
They have to say they get letters, and they have to inform them legally that they accept it, and they'll take the payment. It goes back to the start of 2016.
Okay. 2016. Okay. One other issue today. I thought the suit had issues, but what is this snack issue going on with Todd?
That's a great question. Todd is not a big snacker, which for you...
What do you mean? What do you mean snacks? Define snacks, Todd.
Yeah.
I'm not a big pretzel and peanut guy. How's that?
Where do you stand on Little Debbie's?
If you've ever seen me live and in person, I think you know where I stand on Little Debbie's.
Outstanding job.
There.
Outstanding job, Doug, of breaking this man down.
We've discovered your weakness.
Yeah. I feel like I'm watching a rerun of the old Perry Mason series where Perry breaks him down in the stand. It took Todd only to hear two questions from Doug and maybe part of a third to suddenly just go in the tank.
So, he put me in the box like in Homicide, A Life on the Streets.
He's in a box. Great.
All right, Steve. Thanks a lot for your time today. I really like listening to the show.
I hope it helped. I hope we gave you some good answers.
It's so confusing, and I tried to read the different articles and listen to you and stuff, and it's so confusing of what's legal, what's not, the limits. The whole thing is a mess.
Well,
it'll sort itself out, but I don't envy Pat Kraft. I'll tell you that.
No, or any athletic director that has to go through this. But they've been planning for it. It's one thing to plan for it. It's going to be another thing to then have it be executed in real time.
how is it fair to the club, to the lower tier sports, though? I mean, you're going to put your money towards football, or if like the Big East teams will be towards basketball or things like that. But you've got to figure out some way to, I guess, allocate the money to the lower tier sports.
All right, so you bring up a great point, because I was going to bring it up anyway. Every school, for the most part, has a sport that is beloved by the university. Now people are, wrestling, okay, right? Best program in the country. The greatest college sports dynasty since UCLA basketball under John Wooden. Fair? I think that's
yes,
fair.
no doubt about that.
Right? No question. You just saw, for example, now they're not in the $20.5 million range, but you just saw Coastal Carolina go in and beat Auburn in baseball. Well, Coastal Carolina a couple of years ago won the national championship in baseball. Baseball is beloved at Coastal Carolina. Women's gymnastics is beloved at LSU, at Florida, at Alabama, at Auburn. I mean, women's volleyball, Penn State, Nebraska, right? Beloved, right? But part of the issue is going to be, what do you do to take care of that? At the same time, the businessman in you, Doug, has to come out. Right? It has to come out at some point. If it doesn't, you're going to hurt everybody else. And here's the reason why. Alabama, for example, spent $262.8 million a year ago. They brought in $234.8. Alabama had a $28 million deficit last year. That's up from $13 million the year before. Okay? Now, some of this increase was because of the one-time cost of Nick Saban retiring. They had to buy out his contract. All right? But what are they going to do with the money? Penn State has 31 sports. Ohio State has 33. Boston College has 29. Stanford has 36. So what do you do? There are only two sports that make money. Right? And let me tell you, this will be an example to tell everybody in no uncertain terms, because the rides at Fantasyland, Doug, are closed now, okay? Just in no uncertain terms, to all the people that think they know the finances of this, the rides at Fantasyland are closed. Iowa women's basketball with Caitlin Clark was an incredible, awesome success story. They sold out. They sold out on the road. Their TV ratings were awesome. They were one of the great stories in sports during 23-24. And they lost seven figures. Okay?
Right.
Penn State Wrestling's the dynasty of all dynasties, right? The best. They sell everything out. Everything is sold out. Everything. Another national championship. We're all proud. They lost seven figures. So what do you do with this? What do you do, right? Because there will be a suit at some point about Title IX about this. There'll be another issue about this.
Right.
Right? But what do you do at that point? Because when I gave a talk about this about a month ago, and I took questions, you know what the first question I got? Because I just gave the rough breakdown of what it was going to be. And the rough breakdown is always, 75%. These are neighborhood numbers. 75% to football, 15% to men's basketball, 5% to women's basketball, and 5% to other sports. What was the first question I got? What about our wrestlers? And first of all, I didn't have the answer to that. But in a business world, you look over and go, I'm proud of it. It's great, but I have to make sure that anything that can keep me in the black, I've got to keep investing in, because this is now like business. The rides at Fantasyland are closed.
Could you imagine being the athletic director at Auburn, coming between Hugh Freeze and Bruce Pearl, for a place like that where like Auburn basketball's top 10, and
right.
Auburn football is super important. I mean, I cannot imagine the fight going on between those two with the AD at someplace like that.
Well, the fight would not be there. It would probably be with the women's basketball coach, the women's gymnastics coach, and so forth, because Bruce Pearl is going to understand why 75% has to go to football in the SEC.
That's true.
Okay?
You're right about
that. He's going to understand that because you have to understand where the bread is buttered. Okay? As long as he's getting an allocation that makes him on a competitive playing court with everybody else in the conference, he'll be fine. See, I mean, as long as you're right because Alabama's going to pay X amount for football, Auburn has to pay X amount for football. Tennessee's going to pay X amount for basketball. Auburn's going to have to play X amount for basketball. After that, the other parts have to fall into place. But you have to be competitive, most especially financially, in those two sports, even though it's tough to look at other sports that are incredibly successful and tell them, like, this is what we have left.
You're right about that. I didn't think about the other sports, kind of taking the brunt of it. So,
I mean, in other words, my argument is going to be this. Hey, if you want, we can watch attendance go down in football. We can watch attendance go down in men's basketball. And now we have less money, and I don't know if we have enough to keep you.
It's a business now, Steve.
It's a pure business. Ohio State, for example, now men's gymnastics, right? There aren't that many men's gymnastics programs in the country, but they're transitioning them to a club sport.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, the idea, there are a lot of people like, they should add women's wrestling. They're not adding women's wrestling. Okay? Nobody is. Because they can't afford to do it right now. Where can you do that? Okay?
It's not a moneymaker.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, look, athletic directors across the country have to believe that the number is going to skew even further to football and men's basketball because their success is going to generate ticket sales. It's going to generate marketing dollars. It's going to generate merchandise revenue. And, yes, it donates. It brings in donations.
Right.
I mean, it's like wrestling is one of the great pride investments in Penn State. There's no question about that. Okay? The question is, what is your financial return, though, on the investment? And the performance return is obvious. They're the best. But now you have to start debating what the financial return is. I mean, if you're sitting there, let's take another program besides wrestling. Okay? If you're investing in a point guard or a quarterback, okay, you're doing it to produce a financial return. Are you getting the same return if you invest that money in a swimmer?
You're not.
Right. I mean, and again, I'm not being cruel here. Somebody has to at least come out and state matter-of-factly what the issues happen to be. Okay? Without any... Okay, I'm not taking shots at anybody. I'm talking about this from a pure, unadulterated business point of view about keeping the athletic department above water so you can support all the opportunities and not have to drop anybody. And these are questions and debates where I'm really glad I'm not sitting in Pat's seat because I would never want to be in that seat because I wouldn't want to drop anybody.
It's a whole new world, and when Joe wanted to do a stipend, everybody thought that was outrageous.
Oh yeah, that was
I know. That was big news that Joe wanted to do a stipend. Now everybody thought that was outrageous.
I mean, but the bottom line, I remember Jack Ham. He goes, "I got $15. We called it laundry. We got it laundry money." He says, "I thought I was rich."
Well, $15 buys a lot of little Debbies now. Come on.
Well, again, you're appealing to Todd's heart. All right.
Okay.
But the bottom line is this. Okay. I mean, you have a lot of valuable programs that people do not want to undercommit to. Wrestling, women's volleyball, women's soccer. You see what I mean? Right? Yeah. They don't want to undercommit to them. They're the best of the best. Okay. One was an Elite Eight. Two of them were national champions. Men's ice hockey made the Frozen Four. Women's ice hockey had a great run. So people do not want to undercommit to these schools. But there's another part, too. Business is now business. And on Friday night, college sports became more of a business. Now you have to balance it out and handle it.
The numbers don't lie anymore.
You know, you want to make sure all these programs get their proper support. There's no question about it. But does the math work? And that's the difficult part. 5 years ago, when you did the 5-year planning on your budget, this was not in the budget.
Well, thanks for taking my call today, Steve. I didn't mean to take up all your whole half hour.
Oh, no. I thought it was educated questions. Those are great questions. Plus, not only that, we finally were able to draw Todd out and found out it's only specific snacks.
Okay, talk to you later, Steve.
Doug in Wellsboro joining us on the show. Back with more in a moment. You see where I'm going with that, Todd? You do not in any way, shape, or form want to undercommit to certain programs. You don't want to undercommit.
I did, like Doug said, this is a fine line these athletics directors are going to have to walk, and it's not one I envy in the least.
I mean, again, the first question I got was, well, what about our wrestlers? I'm like going, okay, I get it. I understand the love for it. I understand the passion for it. I completely understand the question. But you have to prioritize what you're doing here, because if I can do well in a couple of them, it's going to make life better for everybody else.